Hi, welcome to this webinar called Getting Organized, Maximizing Productivity and Leisure, presented by the New Jersey Hope and Healing Program. So first, we're going to chat about why is it even so tough to get organized? So one major thing, COVID-19 has changed the predictability of our daily lives. So you might feel like, we've been through this for a while already. I must be used to it. But think about how much time you spent getting your organization routines down pat, and maybe even still having some difficulty with them before COVID-19, and how many years that took. And, thinking about the past year, which has been a year full of unpredictability and a lot of change, it makes sense that that has kind of shaken up our ability and motivation to get organized and feel like we can organize things. Our usual routines have been disrupted, and each day can feel really similar to the days before. So even if every day you're going to different classes, maybe talking to different friends, going to different meetings, showing up to your job in different ways, you might be doing that all from your desk, right? So that might feel really similar. Like you wake up, you sit at your desk, you go to bed. That can make it tough to get organized. So what can help? All right, we're going to talk about a couple different things in this webinar, including focusing on sleep, creating daily routines, and also making time for leisure. So one of the important elements here when it comes to getting organized, recognizing that there's a time and a place for everything. Multitasking might seem easier and even so much more appealing than it ever has before. But you have to wonder, is it effective? So we know from research actually that doing multiple things, actually multitasking, it makes us less productive. So think about this. If you're in class and maybe you're answering some emails or you're texting a friend, maybe you're playing a video game or scrolling through social media on the side, you're not really showing up and participating fully in any of those activities, right? So if you're texting a friend, you're probably not hearing what your professor is saying, at least for a minute while you're typing your message, right? And then maybe you forgot what your friend said and you're focusing on the lecture and you go back and forth. And it's a lot for your brain to manage and hold all at one time. So multitasking, even though it seems easy to do and quick to do, right? Like, oh, let me just answer this email really quickly. It's actually not effective. So let's talk about sleep. First, consider on the left here this question: how far into a road trip can you get on an empty tank of gas? Spoiler alert, you can't get very far. So if you think about, how much sleep you get in terms of filling up a gas tank, how far into your day can you get on an empty gas tank or even a gas tank that's half full, right? You can't get very far at all. And if you think about this in terms of your sleep, you really need good quality and enough sleep to make it through your day. And so it's easier to get things done when we ourselves have a full tank of gas. And part of creating good sleep is aiming for a consistent bedtime and waking time. So this means falling asleep at the same time and waking up at the same time, about within a half hour every day. And so this also means trying on the weekends. So it can feel really tempting on the weekends to want to sleep in really late or maybe stay up late to hang out with friends or talk to friends or watch something on Netflix. But we know from sleep research that it's really important to maintain the same or at least consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends. So how do we do all the things that we need to do, right? Like so much needs to get done. In any given day, you might have to do a combination of these things, maybe even all of these things, right? You have to focus on classes, meetings, studying, socializing, your hobbies, work, cleaning, caretaking, physical activity, mental health, eating, sleeping. Oh my goodness, where, when, and how do all of these things get taken care of? That might seem impossible. How do we do it? College students balance a lot. And so here's one of the ways that we can do it. we have to focus on scheduling, right? So, what works for you to schedule things? Do you keep a calendar? Maybe you have a checklist like, oh, these are all the things I need to do on Mondays, or these are all the things that have to get done in a given week, right? And so, for you, you might want to include anything that needs to get done and also remember balance, right? So, this checklist isn't just going to have your homework assignments, right? If you go back to this slide, what needs to get done? Notice how there's physical activity, mental health, hobbies, socializing, right? Like all of that is on here. Making sure that you schedule that in too will really help you feel like you're getting organized in terms of the life that you want to have, right? So if we only focus on schoolwork, for some people that might not be a very fulfilling day or week, right? So what are the things that are going to bring you that joy and balance in the week to make you feel like you're getting done what you need to get done and still enjoying yourself? So think about what methods work for you, right? So think about maybe a calendar that you can access on multiple devices, right? Like there's apps that you can access, whether you're on your smartphone or your computer or something like that. And some people like that because kind of no matter where they are, their calendars with them. Some people prefer written lists, like having a notebook of lists or post-it notes with lists or setting phone alarms. So whatever is going to work for you to get things done and get organized. We also think about morning routines. So we really want to start the day strong with a morning routine. And think about what you want in your morning, right? Do you want something fun, something for self care, something to organize your day, right? So for me in the morning, something I really like to do is while I'm making my coffee, so I will maybe play a couple minutes of a podcast or a couple minutes of a Netflix show that I enjoy, something that I've seen before, so I don't have to get too invested. But I just like listening to a couple minutes of it. Maybe it's something light and funny, and I can do that for fun or self care or play some music that I really like just to really set the mood and the tone for the day. And also getting organized is part of my morning routine, right? We've all woken up and been like, oh my gosh, I have to do XYZ today. I have to do so many things today. And so part of my morning is I just write that down. And then I can continue with my morning routine once I know that, like, okay, I've written that down. I'm going to get to those things today. Right. So think about what's going to serve you in the morning and start your day off strong. And so these are some things that you can consider when you're thinking about your daily routine. So answer some of these questions. What should happen each day, right? Like, should you check in with a friend each day? Should you get outside of your dorm, apartment, or house each day? Should you spend at least a little bit of time on homework each day, right? Like, what do you need to happen? Also, incorporating downtime to reduce stress. So, maybe thinking about what you do before bed. Maybe you have a break in the middle of the day where you have lunch and you put away your technology. What's going to reduce your stress, and how are you going to schedule in that time too? Planning ahead is also great if we can. Procrastination often brings people a lot of stress later on when they're on a tight deadline and they have a huge assignment that they have to do because they've procrastinated. So, trying to plan ahead can be really beneficial. So, really thinking about, like, okay, I have a paper due in a month. What do I have to do in the next week, in the next 2 weeks, in the next 3 weeks to get this paper moving along? And knowing that you can ask people for support if that's a task that seems difficult to manage for you, right? So maybe you ask ODS, maybe you ask your professor, maybe you ask an academic service at your school, right? So really thinking about, how can I get the help that I need and the support that I need so that I can plan ahead? Think about task batching, right? So this is doing multiple tasks, similar tasks at once, so that, kind of once you're in the mindset of doing it, you can just kind of keep doing it. Also, noticing your energy patterns, right? So for me, I know I am most productive in the morning. I cannot focus on challenging assignments at night. So for me, that might mean I save my most challenging assignments for the morning, right? Things that I know are going to take a lot of energy and effort. I'm doing them in the morning. And maybe stuff that's easier for me, I do later on in the day because I know I don't have to give as much energy to it. Also, thinking about working with others. Sometimes it can be hard. I know for me to kind of sit by myself and just do a lot of work. So sometimes I'll call a friend and just we kind of sit on Zoom and do our own assignments. And sometimes we don't even talk, but it's nice to have another person around, just kind of sitting with you. You know that somebody else is working, kind of like an accountability partner. Or, even better if it's somebody that's in the same class as you and you want to talk about some new material or study together or something like that. Some people find that really useful too. All this to say, what's going to help you? What is going to help you focus, right? Maybe it's one of these things, none of these things, all of these things. You really have to think about yourself and what works for you and your patterns. Think about to-do lists as well. So to-do lists should have quick and achievable tasks, right? If you have a paper due in a month, you're not going to write the paper on your to-do list for today, right? Maybe you write, pick a topic for the paper. Maybe you find 3 references for the paper, right? Maybe you find 1 reference for the paper. Maybe it's read the syllabus assignment, see if I have any questions, and email the professor if I do have a question, right? So also noticing the precise descriptions. That can be really useful in getting organized. You know exactly what you have to do when you open your to-do lists. Also, the format. Some people really prefer paper or digital over the other. So think about what works best for you, right? If it works for you, you're going to use it. If it doesn't work for you, you're not going to use it. And then it's a waste of your time and you won't be getting organized either. You can also think about rewards, right? So maybe if you do all the things on your to-do list, you get to watch your favorite show on Netflix at night. Think about what's going to work for you. The next piece of getting organized is actually organizing your physical space. So making sure in your living space you have a designated area for things that are important, right? Like where do you put your keys? Where do you put your mask? Things that you're going to need whenever you leave your home. Making sure that you can always find that. Also, managing distractions, especially notifications. So, think about this. If you have a computer that you get a lot of notifications, whether it's like an incoming text or email or any other notification from any apps you might have, think about silencing all your notifications while you're doing work, right? Think about it this way. If you're doing work and every minute you have a notification coming in, even if it's like once every 10 minutes, that's taking your brain away from the task you're doing and having it think about something else. Also, reducing your visual clutter. So if you're working at a desk, maybe taking a minute before you start working to just take things away that would be distracting, right? So cleaning up some mess, filing some papers away, throwing out some garbage, getting a fresh glass of water, whatever that is. And the next thing, create the environment. Create the environment that you need, right? Maybe it's getting a blanket if it's chilly in your space, or maybe it's getting a couple of your favorite drinks so that you can really be settled and present, or getting a snack, making sure you have your to-do list nearby, really setting yourself up for success in terms of the environment. And dedicated spaces. So whenever possible, have a designated workspace. If you have a desk, use it. If you have a kitchen table, use it, right? But pick one space where you're going to do your work, right? So this can help alert your brain to, okay, when I'm at my desk, I do work. And maybe you only use that space to do work. One thing you should avoid if and when possible is working in bed, right? So it might feel really easy to wake up, roll over, grab your laptop, and just start doing work in bed. But this is actually really confusing for our brains because our brains associate the bed with sleep. And then if you start to associate the bed with work, when you get in bed, your brain doesn't know if it has to be on, off, relaxed, really trying to work hard to keep organized or focus on a math problem or who knows what, right? So we want to alert our brain, hey, I'm in bed, it's time for sleep. So really doing work out of the bed and if possible in the same place every day. So when you sit down, your brain starts to catch on and know, okay, we're doing work now. Final notes. Check in with ODS, see what supports you have, if there's any other supports you need, and if you could be utilizing your supports in any other way, right? Maybe you need something else, and ODS can help put you in touch. Also, Find other supports if you need them. So, one thing might be some apps. So, Be Focused is an app that helps you set a timer for the amount of times you want to work and then the amount of time that you want to take a break. So, for example, maybe you set a timer that you work for 30 minutes and then every 30 minutes you get a 2-minute break, something like that. Self Control is an app for computers that allows you to say, like, hey, for the next hour, I'm going to work. Do not allow me to open, you know, a, you choose what websites you wouldn't be allowed to open. So maybe you put social media on there so that you know for the next hour, and you set the amount of time you want to. For the next hour, computer, do not allow me to go on Facebook or whatever it is. Google Keep, I really like this for to-do lists. So because it's a Google app, you can have it on your computer, you can have it as an app on your phone, and it's a really nice way to keep to-do lists. And also think about low-cost organization options, right? So maybe you go to a store like Five Below or a dollar store or a Target and get a journal or a notepad. It's really affordable and that you can use to have by your side if you want to write written to-do lists. Further resources. So, this top link is where you can find out more about us and our program and access to brief individual counseling and other resources. Um, and then you have two other resources here if you feel like you need some extra support. And feel free to get in touch with us if you have any questions or comments, or just need help accessing other services. We're here to support. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune into this webinar. I hope it was useful to you, and I wish you the best of luck in getting organized. Take care.